What a whirlwind romance! The story of Queen Charlotte and King George is so much more than a typical fairy tale. It's a story of forced marriage, profound betrayal, and a woman's struggle for power in a world that wants her to have none. Imagine being Princess Charlotte, sold into a marriage with a stranger, your fate sealed by your own brother. She arrives in a new country, filled with dread, not knowing who this king is or why she was chosen. The truth is, King George had very specific requirements. He needed a wife from a less powerful family, someone who wouldn't bring political complications. Charlotte, from a tiny German duchy, fit the bill perfectly. But this strategic alliance came with a heavy price: the terrifying uncertainty of her future and the piercing judgment of the royal court, especially from the king's powerful mother, Augusta. From the very beginning, this story captivates us, offering a sweet escape while touching on complex issues. It also delves into the real history behind the queen. There are theories that the historical Queen Charlotte had African ancestry. While some historians debate this, pointing to descriptions of her features, the series uses this idea to build a fascinating narrative, one that's more about entertainment than a dry history lesson. The first time Charlotte and George meet is pure magic. Trying to escape the chaos of her own wedding preparations, she literally tries to climb over a garden wall. And who should she run into? The king himself. In that unexpected moment, they're not a king and a princess. They're just two nervous young people sharing their fears. We see George not as a monarch, but as a man, and Charlotte starts to see a glimmer of hope. Armed with this new connection, Charlotte walks into her wedding with a newfound resolve. She chooses her own dress, a bold statement of her authenticity against the stiff expectations of the court. Their marriage begins, but it's far from a fairy tale ending. George reveals their new home isn't what she expected, creating immediate tension. They quickly realize they have very different ideas about what their life together will be. The support they desperately need from each other seems miles away. Charlotte's dream of freedom is quickly crushed. She's trapped by the monarchy's rigid rules and suffocating expectations. To make matters worse, the kingdom is facing a crisis. The royal family is under immense pressure to produce a legitimate heir, and all eyes are on Charlotte. Meanwhile, the royal council is in a frenzy over her skin color, launching what they call a grand experiment to make the monarchy appear more inclusive. The legitimacy of her marriage and the entire royal succession hangs in the balance, all hinging on the consummation of their union, a deeply private act made terrifyingly public. Charlotte finds herself utterly alone in the palace. Her husband is distant, leaving her to navigate the treacherous court by herself. The pressure to have children only adds to her isolation. Fed up, she decides she can't live like this anymore. She needs answers. She decides to confront George, believing that even a painful conflict is better than this suffocating silence. For her, fighting for the relationship is a sign of commitment, a way to break down the walls between them. She finds an unlikely friend in Lady Agatha, who raises concerns about the validity of their marriage without intimacy. This new information shifts Charlotte's perspective, making her even more determined to uncover the truth. Finally, George tries to explain his behavior. He invites her to look at the stars, a beautiful metaphor for their potential to reconnect. He apologizes, and Charlotte begins to see the vulnerable man behind the crown. That night they share a romantic evening, a fresh start after all the conflict. George compliments her, trying to win back her trust and finally build the intimate connection they both crave. Despite everything, a deep and meaningful bond starts to form. History tells us their love was real. Unlike many kings of his time, George never had mistresses. His letters to Charlotte were filled with affection, and they shared many interests that strengthened their bond, but their happiness is fragile. Charlotte discovers the toxic relationship between George and his mother, Augusta. She overhears George talking about their marriage as a duty to the crown, and her insecurities come rushing back. The pressure of being king is immense, and it's poisoning their relationship. Soon, a more terrifying problem emerges. George starts showing alarming symptoms, affecting his physical and mental health. At first, they are dismissed, but they grow more severe, making it difficult for him to rule and impossible for them to connect. The court is a viper's nest of racism and classism. Some nobles openly call their love unnatural, a stark reflection of the social prejudices of the time. Beneath the surface of their public appearances, their relationship is strained. Charlotte feels like she's performing a role, that their marriage is a sham. The lack of communication creates painful misunderstandings. They both love each other deeply, but they can't seem to find a way to say it, leading to anger and distance. But Charlotte doesn't give up. Her empathy becomes their lifeline. She keeps trying to understand him, refusing to let his confusing behavior push her away. This perseverance is what ultimately allows them to heal. Their love story inspires others too. At a grand ball, they present a united front, their public display of affection helping to bridge social divides and bring a divided court together. However, George's mental health continues to decline. He has episodes of confusion where he doesn't even recognize his own wife. The doctors are useless, debating outdated theories about the four humors and proposing harmful treatments. In his desperation for a cure, George agrees to a brutal regimen from a new doctor, a treatment so extreme it horrifies his loyal butler. He's trapped by the medical ignorance of his time and the immense pressure of being king. This pressure has haunted him his whole life. His mother's constant criticism and the shame surrounding his condition have destroyed his self-esteem. He feels like a monster, terrified that if Charlotte sees the real him, she'll leave. This fear is why he pushed her away in the first place. But with the gentle support of his butler, Reynolds, and his growing love for Charlotte, George starts to believe he might be worthy of happiness. He decides to risk it, to spend time with her, to hope for a future together. He rejects the doctor's torturous treatments, realizing that his true healing comes from his connection with Charlotte. Just as things are looking up, Charlotte announces she's pregnant. The news sends George spiraling back into his insecurities. Will he be a good father? Will he pass on his illness? Charlotte, now desperate for answers, finally learns the full truth about his condition. She feels betrayed by the secrecy, a blow that threatens to shatter their fragile bond. This story also gives us a glimpse into the loneliness of women in the royal family. Charlotte, Lady Agatha, and Violet Bridgerton are all facing their own private heartbreaks. Modern studies show that loneliness is a serious health risk, creating a vicious cycle of depression. These women are searching for support, for someone to truly see and value them. In a society that often renders older women invisible, their stories are a powerful reminder of their desires, their experiences, and their right to be the main characters in their own lives. In a touching moment, Charlotte tells her son that love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice, a commitment. It's a difficult path that requires endless dedication. She lives this truth every day. As George's mental health deteriorates, she becomes his fierce protector, her love his only anchor. Their story is one of unconditional love, of finding strength in each other's arms, even in the darkest of times. As the series unfolds, other secrets come to light, like the hidden love between Lady Agatha and Violet's father, Lord Ledger, a relationship that highlights the sacrifices we make for our children. We also see a different side of George, the farmer king, a man passionate about science and agriculture, a man who cared deeply for his country. In the final, poignant moments, we see them at a ball, George facing his fears with Charlotte by his side, their union a symbol of hope for the kingdom. Then, the news arrives. Their son will have a child, securing the royal line. It's a moment of pure joy. We see them in their old age still together, still in love. Charlotte helps George realign his world, reminding him of who he is and how much she loves him. Their story isn't a fairy tale, but it is a testament to a love that endured everything. Thanks for watching.